time to give your opinion on the Bills and the NFL. Let's talk football live. Now, here's the 13 Wham Sports Team.
Welcome to a special pregame edition of Let's Talk Football Live. Mike Catalana, Fetes, Jenna, Cottrell. You guys ready for some football today?
Well, Saturday afternoon.
I was going to say, honestly, no. I feel like having a game on Saturday just throws off the whole schedule. But
I just raised the chair up, so I'm sitting to get a little higher altitude to prepare myself. I mean,
get ready.
There's another way to do that, and it's legal in some states, but we're not going to do that game here for today. Hey, we hope everybody joins us. We're looking at comments today on what you think's going to go on in the game. Dan, the list just came out of the inactives and actives. It's been really interesting for the Bills lately. Not a lot of drama when it comes to inactives and who's going to play.
No, it seems like McDermott has found the lineup that he is going to roll with. And as like we've said, they've won 6 out of their last 7. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Obviously, again, Trent Murphy and Tyler Kroft, the big inactives. Besides that, it's Jake Fromm, it's TJ Yeldon. But besides that, this seems like the lineup that McDermott has. And again, they could have won 7 in a row if it wasn't for a Hail Mary. So this is the team, that I think McDermott has. And I think that's just another part of them finding their stride and finding that continuity and peaking at the right time now.
Before I get to you, Jenna, I think it's Mookie who had a comment, and this one would have to be for Dan because it's his BFF. He wants to know, where is Duke Williams?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm afraid that if we talk bad about him, he will come and beat us
Find
up.
you?
That's it. It's tough to talk about Duke Williams. I mean, last year he was a guy that was played in the playoff game. That he got the start over Robert Foster. They got, they end up getting Stephon Diggs. The team gets better, Jenna, and Duke Williams kind of falls to where we thought he belonged on a good NFL team.
Yeah, I think this shows the progress of the team. Like before, it'd be like, right, is Duke going to play? He's a game changer. But now he's not talked about because the Bills haven't needed him. They've been so strong with their receiving core. I mean, we know John Brown is not going to play today. He has still not been activated technically. He's not going to play. But you have Gabe Davis, you have Stephon Diggs, you have Cole Beasley, you have players that have really stepped up. I think we're going to see Isaiah McKenzie involved quite a bit. And folks, let's not forget, like Mike Dan, huge implications in terms of Mike, you tweeted it out. And if people haven't seen, go to Twitter for Mike's tweet of how old he was. Great picture from the last time the Bills won the AFC East.
Yeah. What's interesting about that picture is I was probably roughly, now I said, because I'm very funny. You guys would agree with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Seriously, don't jump right in. So I tweeted out a picture that I probably was roughly the age that you guys were at that time, right?
Yeah.
You were in preschool. I was probably, that picture was probably preschool for me. I mean, I said when I was covering the team. Well, and roughly I was a little, let's say 1995. So I was a little older than you guys are now at that time, legitimately. But that picture was taken, I believe, when the Bills were winning AFL championships.
Wow.
Yes. The Jack Kemp days. So how about that?
I love seeing on Twitter everyone else's pictures about how old they were or where they were. Or Duffy, WCMF Duffy tweeted out when he looked like he was about 8 or 9 wearing his AFC East champs gear.
Yeah.
Quite some time, for sure.
Did he have a beard back then?
Shockingly, no.
Hey, Dan, I wanted to bring this up. You were on Denver radio this week talking about the game. I'm always curious about this because for many years, the Bills were the team that was always looking to somebody else going like, man, you guys got it good, right?
Yeah.
I think they're jealous of Josh Allen. I think they wish Hall of Fame quarterback John Elway would have drafted Josh Allen or somebody else, and they are hoping that their guy can become him at some point. But what were the kind of questions they were asking you on Denver radio?
Well, the first thing they wondered was, what has been the success of Josh Allen and how has he done all of this and, in his turnaround year. And you have to talk about the consistency. I talked about Brian Dable and Stephon Diggs, but I mainly, the first thing I said was that the Bills had patience with him. that there wasn't any of this knee-jerk reaction. Not even like in Miami where they draft Tua and, Tua's getting pulled in the middle of starts. They sent Josh out there to kind of fend for himself. And that's something that they don't have the patience yet with Drew Lock. He hasn't done it enough. He hasn't done it consistently at that level to where they think that they're comfortable knowing who their quarterback is. So that was one of the big things that was interesting, where they're looking at them or looking in Buffalo and going, man, you guys found your quarterback. Like, what is it like? How did you do it? And it's like, well, 15 weeks ago, we weren't sure. And over the last 3 months, Josh has, proven to be an MVP caliber season and, seems to be the guy for years to come in Buffalo.
It is quite hilarious, though, when you look at the prototype for John Elway, like tall, big, strong-armed quarterback. It's like Josh Allen is literally his guy. It's like, oh, well.
Yeah, he kept looking for all these other guys, and here was Josh. And let's face it, he's at Wyoming. I mean, he's not that far away. Like, come on, John. Yeah. Also, and maybe they would have been interested. They took Bradley Chubb, I think, that year, who's a pretty good player on the D-line, but he's a D-lineman. Like, he's not the quarterback. So, by the way, there's been some comments about the game, where the game is on today. It's on the NFL Network, and people are asking if it's on Channel 13. I don't believe I've had to mention the circumstances of a game more often in the last probably 15, ever since there's been actually no blackouts. It's an odd circumstance. The game is not on Channel 13 in Rochester. It's on the NFL Network. We're not allowed to show it. We would love to be showing it today, but we're not. So, and nobody else in Rochester can. If you're in Buffalo, you can get it on Channel 7 or NFL Network. If you're anywhere else in the country, you're getting it on NFL Network today. So,
can you get it on YouTube TV? Asking for a friend.
YouTube TV has NFL Network. By the way, I did mention this, and I think I said it to you guys. You can get it on the Yahoo Sports app under one condition.
Oh, yeah.
No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi.
Because then they'll know where you are.
This is a little scary.
You got to use it. You got to use it on. Somebody's asking if it's streaming on Bills.com. I think the Bills.
They do stream games on Bills.com. I don't know.
But that's when the game is on locally. Now, maybe, I don't know if that works in Buffalo because it's on Channel 7 that they can do that. That one I'm not sure of, because they can't just arbitrarily put the games out there if it's not on, or if you're in another market. If you're in another city, you can't get the game on Bills.com, and that would sort of circumvent the whole Sunday ticket thing and getting the home team games. But
Nick is saying Bills Mafia Facebook page streams the game, so that's a
well. That's my guess is they're a very loyal bunch. That's probably a illegal stream.
Okay, we'll just whisper it.
Yes,
worry about
that's not our control.
Here, okay.
Yes. That is not our control.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah. Yes. But, hey, look, desperate times, right? I mean, if you want to see the game, and look, we're not encouraging people to go out where there's big crowds. That's what they're trying to say now. So it does make it tougher. I really do wish the game we were able to show it locally, but we're not. In terms of the game, ironically, we all picked the game, and we all picked the Bills to win by 3 points. And we can go over those picks later. And a lot of people respond to us thinking blowout. Dan, for the Bills to put this game away in an efficient way, I mean, their biggest win actually was 11 points last week. What would it take for them to put Denver away in this game?
Drew Lock to be imploding Drew Lock. It would, Drew Lock would have to throw them the game. And that's not to say that he couldn't do it. Drew Lock likes to turn the ball over. Heading into last week, he had 13 interceptions on the season. The Bills defense playing the best they have all year, clicking at the right time. I think that was how you're going to have to be. I think the Broncos defense will play well. I've kind of been thinking about this all week, that this is a small letdown spot for the Bills. I understand that this is a chance to win a division title for the first time in 25 years.
Were you going to say it's a...
No, there are no such thing as letdown games. It could be an emotional... or trap games. It could be a letdown game. Well, Mike, it's funny because you talked about it before when we talked about the Bills playing Seattle, just the way that the schedule shook out and how it was interesting and how the Bills were kind of sandwiched in between a couple of division games. Look, the Bills just came off 2 big primetime wins. Next week, Monday night against the Patriots.
Yep.
Like this is a it's an ugly spot in terms of there are a lot of red flags that you can say that's a little concerning. That's a little concerning. Now, I'm not to say this Bills team has shown massive amounts of maturity and they have taken everything in stride. I'm not to say this is an immature team that is going to take the Broncos lightly. This is just from an outside guy looking in and just basing this not even as a Bills follower. This seems like a good spot to take the Broncos plus 6.5.
Oh, yeah. Little betting advice. No, I mean, I think it's important that this game is for the AFC East title because I think this would have gotten lost in the shuffle because you're coming off 2 primetime games. You have the Patriots ahead. You're still trying to figure yourself out. So with this game being for so much and how many Bills fans know it and the team in general knows how important this is. Look, you could very easily overlook this Denver Broncos team looking at their record. But having this bullseye on this game for such an emotional reason, I think helps motivate the team and keep the maturation process of like, hey guys, we got to take this game seriously as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not 100% aware of the circumstances with the division, they win, they get it, and it's over. They lose, and they still could clinch tomorrow, but you would find yourself having to root for the New England Patriots because they need to beat Miami. So. Yeah, New England would be more like spoilers in a game than because they're done, right? New England's done. I don't see.
What was it, like a 7% chance if they won out, or 6% chance? Something not.
And there's a part of me that would have loved to have seen the Bills win the division in Foxborough, and that still could happen, right?
Yeah.
If circumstances play out. But then you're playing with fire there a little bit. That means you've lost. Miami beat New England. Yeah. Miami wins again next week, and then you've got to win on Monday night. They don't need that kind of drama. They need to just go take care of business in this one. And I think it's an interesting spot for them to go against a team, again, a competent, pretty good team. I think it's kind of similar in a way to the San Francisco game in terms of now, San Francisco was a Super Bowl team the year before, but they were pretty banged up, playing with a backup quarterback, all those issues. And I thought that was one of the more complete games for the Bills. On the road, really solid, made plays, they turned the ball over, and Allen was good. Like there was a lot of positives in that game, and they took care of them. That was a little more of a dominant performance, I thought. For this year. I think the only times this year where they have let down, let's see if you guys, and I don't mean like that Tennessee game was so strange, with the weight and Kansas City is the Super Bowl champ. Arizona, they lose on a Hail Mary. I thought the 2 games where they did not play close to their capabilities were the Chargers game and the Jets game, the second Jets game.
I would say the Rams game in that second half.
Well, yeah, the second
third quarter, that was, I mean, hard, but
yes. See, Mike, that's interesting. I would say it's coming out of that bye where they played the Jets the second time, and even the first New England game.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, that's a good,
I thought those were 2 teams where they were clearly the better roster, as we have said multiple times this year. But that second Jets game, the 18-10 game, all of the penalties, you settle for 6 field goals, just kind of an ugly taste, or an ugly feeling and a bad taste. Yeah. So like, I think those were the 2 games where, again, they were coming out of their bye, definitely a slower start, to a weird COVID, or not their bye. It was just off that stretch of 2 losses. Yeah. So weird spot there. I think those are the only 2 games where I really thought they just didn't play up their potential. In San Fran, I thought, Josh, as he said, was just in that zone where he put the ball wherever he wanted to. So, I think those are the only 2 games. Yeah, the second half of that Chargers game was weird. Yeah. But I still was I never thought that game was in doubt.
Well, that's because Anthony Lynn was coaching.
That is very true. I think
did he Anthony Lynn it up in the last game? Oh man.
Yeah.
Thursday night. That
game was drunk. Also.
Yes.
Yeah, and I talked about
that. That game had a lot of issues. By the way, me mentioning New England is done. Manuelo, I think, and a few other people very excited. When they hear that for sure. I mean, they know it, but excited that it is. And someone had mentioned the Kansas City game. I think it was Dave. The Kansas City game was strange. They did not play. Again, we've talked about this game plan idea of how you're going to play. I will say in hindsight, they're not going to be, they have if they would have knocked off Kansas City they'd still be in the running for the number one pick or number one seed. But I like the fact that was the game plan they used now, because I think it'll be very different when they play them if they get to play them in the playoffs.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it was good that they saw them this year early on, because the expectation was, all right, let's see how the Bills stack up, and they didn't stack up well. But I feel like having the time to see how much success the Bills have had as of recently, I feel like there's the opportunity for the Chiefs to kind of be like, oh, well, we beat them before, and for the Bills to be like, we are a different team. Now, that's if they see each other in the postseason, which who knows, but that would be, and as Dan and I and everyone knows, it's hard to beat a team twice.
It is hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah, well, we'll see, because they've beaten the Jets twice. We'll see if they beat New England twice.
The Jets are different than the Chiefs.
Well, they got a shot to beat New England twice and Miami twice this year.
Yeah, it's true.
And like in the old days, old days, there's a possibility Miami is the one team they could meet for a third time.
Right.
And how it maps out. That was the other thing we talked about, is even clinching the division today, the idea of where you are seated, I think, is very important. And I think the goal should be that 2 seed, man. I think it makes a big difference. And I think that means if you get to play Pittsburgh, that game would be in Buffalo in round 2. I don't think you want to travel. If you can avoid it, fans or no fans, I think if you can avoid it. And by the way, didn't the governor almost throw something out there, like the possibility of fans? Did I read that right?
Yeah, Cuomo said that if the hospitalization rates and the infection rates are, quote, under control, he would be in favor of doing it safely. Spoiler alert, neither of those things are under control.
That's true.
And the playoffs are in 3 weeks.
Ooh.
So
yeah,
you are not you're not, if you were laying the odds on that.
Wait for that.
Well, I think that was a great move by a governor in a political sense to say, I'd be all for it if if everything's great. And it's like, sure, but push comes to shove, we'll have to see. But obviously to have their first home playoff game in 25 years, it's something that Bean and McDermott have talked about since they've got here. That was the big thing. It wasn't just make the playoffs, it was hosting a home playoff game. And Mike, I was just thinking about it because you were in Miami back in 2017 when they snapped that drought, and just that weird, surreal scene that was. And I was thinking about that today. I had players on the sidelines grabbing my phone to get an upgrade, because they wanted to know what was going on in the Cincy and Baltimore game. And so to think that was a 17-year drought, and today they could snap a 25-year drought.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
I mean, and you know what else? Yeah, Dan, you make a good point. The other thing I wrote about was they haven't even been a contender really to win the division over these years. I mean, it's certainly during the drought years. I mean, there was a couple of times, where they had an early little streak, the little engine that could Fetes team, and, they won some games and people would get excited. But by mid-season plus, they were never really pushing. I think one year they finished a game behind New England, or 2 games. I added it up over the period of time. New England was I got to look at it again, but it was 113 games better than the Bills during the last 2 decades.
Is that good?
Wow.
That's not good. I mean, that's not good. And so it's different. Let's see. Joseph says, wait a minute, Denver wins 20.
I was going to say, this is the first Denver post we've had.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so in this game, we've talked a little bit about the quarterback. Dan, people are going to see Drew Lock today, and he did play well against Carolina. He kept himself in check. What kind of player are fans going to see? And can he get hot? Can he be a guy to take advantage of some of the things the Bills don't do?
Yeah, he absolutely can. I mean, Jenna, you said he's got moxie.
Yeah.
Moxie.
Yeah, like I said, I think that he's probably the more confident quarterback in this game. It's delusional. It's delusional confidence, but he thinks that there's not a throw that he doesn't think he can make. And that is to a fault too. Jenna, what are you saying?
Confidence is a hell of a drug.
Yes.
In the words of Micah Hyde.
Well, maybe he's combining that with something other than confidence.
Yeah, there are other legal drugs in Denver. Yeah.
But look, when we've seen Josh before, certainly at times last year and certainly in his rookie year, he was pretty confident. He tried to make some insanely dumb throws.
Yeah.
And he has developed. Now, the difference is Drew Lock's been with a different coordinator. I believe, if I read it right, every year since he was like a sophomore in college. Like he's never had
over at Mizzou a lot too. Yeah.
Right. So he's never had the repeat guys. Hey, look, I hope for Denver they figure it out. I hope Lock is the guy. I love seeing where, nobody wants to watch the games with bad quarterbacks unless like New England. Obviously, everybody wants them to end up with a bad quarterback because, they're New England. But like, I love it that Tua is good and that Lawrence is probably going to go to the Jets. Man, that is going to make the division fun. And they could have Lawrence and Tua, and you could still have the best quarterback in the division.
Yeah.
But it's a competition. I mean, the old days of, Marino and Kelly twice a year, sometimes 3 every year was fantastic. And especially since the Bills got the better of them, certainly in the playoffs, but the majority of time. So I hope Denver does figure it out. They're not quite what the Bills and the Dolphins have been, trying to replace the Hall of Fame guy from the 80s and 90s, because they did bring in, they certainly had moments. And then when they brought in Peyton, they won a Super Bowl. Yeah. So, they've been good. They've been better than these other teams, but maybe Locke will be the guy. I don't know.
He hasn't started that many games when you look at it. Like his touchdown.
Yeah, 15 games. I think he's played 15, 16 games.
Yeah. I mean, he's, 13 passing touchdowns, 13 receptions. Yeah. Like, that's obviously not great. But I think when you look at Josh, if you were to only be like box score scouting when he was in his first season, like definitely didn't look great. Now, can he take those steps? I think what we saw from Josh early on was his ability to be able to step up in those big moments, particularly in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Which I don't know if we've really seen that with the Broncos, but also, I mean, they were in that Chiefs game. Like Vic Fangio does a great job of having his team prepared, at least defensively. And like, let's be real, that was kind of the Bills' recipe for a couple years is let's have a great defense, be able to shut down people and score just enough points.
And when our quarterback doesn't
be dangerous. Right.
And when our quarterback doesn't do something dumb, we can win the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? And that's the thing. And like I said, and Jenna, I mean, Drew Lock had I know it was against the Chargers, but I think he had a 24-point comeback against the Chargers, won it on the last second play. Like he's got this, he wants to dance on the sidelines and rap to the songs that go on.
Really bad.
Yeah. And Josh admitted that Lock is better than him.
He's a better dancer. So, and like I said,
yeah.
Paul Sweet makes a comment saying Buffalo Bills D needs to make Lock look like a rookie. Yeah, and you want to know what? They have confused a lot of quarterbacks. And right now, the way that they're playing, the defense is probably playing the best they have over the last 5 weeks, going back to that Seattle game. And really pretty much before that, it was, Justin Zimmer's big play against Cam Newton, where the defense kind of got their confidence back in that game a little bit. And if you go back a week before that, that was the game against the Jets that we said that they allowed 4 total yards in the second half. So that was kind of the turning point where you started to see that. And what was nice to see in that Pittsburgh game is for how bad the Bills' offense was in the first half, the defense was what kept them in the game. And that was what you always like to see. And so many times in years past, it was – you needed the offense to step up because of how well the defense was playing. And earlier this year, it was the defense was playing so bad, but the offense was stepping up. And you're starting to see that complementary football that Sean McDermott said, that's the Pee Wee Herman buzzword, that they want to see. So it was nice to see that, the Bills offense had 6 possessions in the first half against Pittsburgh, had 4 punts and 2 turnovers, and went into halftime with a 2-point lead. Like that was massive. So it was, I think that's huge.
Okay. I did my 5 storylines for the game. It's on Buffalo Plus, even though we're closing in on game time. And one of the things I wrote was, it's the altitude and the ball travels on. Not that Josh Allen really needs that. Like when you're playing in a dome, you can throw it, whatever. But what we really haven't seen is he's thrown some deep balls, but I'm talking about stand back there, let it go, 60 in the air, hit Stephon Diggs. Could we see that today?
I want to see Josh Allen throw it out of the stadium.
On purpose.
I was going to tweet that. I was like, I don't want to get hate for that, but I just think it would be funny to see that. But no, let's see it.
Dan?
It's interesting because teams have kind of, I feel like coming into this year, teams were going to dare Josh to throw it deep because he was the worst passer in the league last year on deep balls. And then this year he hit Diggs and John Brown a couple times and everybody went, crap. Like, okay, like now we're not going to change this. And then Josh had to understand, not necessarily dink and dunk, but be efficient in crossing routes and comeback routes and all of those things. So it hasn't really been their game plan. And that's the one thing. And if the Bills want to, Mike, you talked about going back to this, if the Bills do want to blow out Denver today and really kind of, step on their throats, it'd be some Drew Lock turnovers, but it would also be Josh exploiting a very wounded Denver Broncos secondary. I think they only have 3 healthy cornerbacks. Yeah. One of them tested positive for PEDs last week, so they are banged up. So Josh can pick them apart. Like, if I don't know what Josh's props are. I can look that up, but I would think that Josh would have a big day too. It's just a matter of, getting touchdowns instead of field goals.
All right. Yeah. We got a couple of minutes here before we let everybody go to the game, and then I want to mention what we're going to be doing. But let's go over our picks. Jenna, I have made the corrections, so you can read your pick on the game. What do you got?
Okay, I have my pick being 24-21, as it says right on the screen. I actually remembered it. Not really. I just read it. No, again, I think this game is going to be close just because of the Bills coming off that emotional win. I think it's going to take them a little bit to get settled in. I'm kind of expecting like a, once again, snoozy start to this game. Hopefully I'm not right. But and then from there, seeing the Bills offense really catch fire. And we'll see the Bills defense get after Drew Lock and just get him off the spot, and that will equal a lot of opportunity for the Bills.
All right, Dan.
Yeah, I got 24-20. I think this is just a weird game. I think maybe the Broncos touchdown could be late. Drew Lock loves some who cares touchdowns late to maybe cover this back door.
So he's a young Fitz.
Yeah, he could be. I think this could be, the line opened at 4. It's all the way up to the Bills are a 6.5-point favorite right now. I just think that the Bills get it done. I just don't think they get it done excitingly. Even that Pittsburgh game, kind of boring, but I'm making this pick based on the Bills defense playing good and Drew Lock coming back to, down to earth after, a career high 4 touchdown game last week. I love the under in this game. It opened up at like 51. It's bet down. I got it at 50. I think this game stays under 50 easily. Yeah.
You know what? This year, and sometimes, we're on different platforms at different times, so sometimes we're making on like a Wednesday or a Thursday as it goes along, and you do want to be consistent. And I think we all felt really funny about the Titans game by the time it was finally played, but you get it wrong. And I don't want to be picking one thing one day and then 3 days later pick something else. So you stick with it. But it's also helped me picking the games this year because I would let my mind go differently as it got closer to the game. And right now I'm feeling better about the Bills controlling this game. But I went with a close game. I'm going to stick with a close game. Dan knows the betting angles, and this would mean the Bills would win, but not cover. Tough to cover 6.5 on the road.
Interesting stat here. Obviously we talk about no necessarily home field advantage at Empower Stadium or whatever it is now. It's Mile High Stadium, and for all of us. Benjamin Albright, who's a great guy, covers the team out in Denver. Also great NFL insider. He's talking about he's at the game covering it. 21 mile per hour winds. Gusting there. So windy. And that is the one thing that bettors, if you're talking about a line, nothing changes the over under, the totals more than wind. It's not snow, it's not rain, it's not any of that. It's the wind. So that's something to definitely watch out for here. Obviously, the Bills haven't been great at running the football. They've been better at stopping the run. They will have to do with Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay, both playing. Very, very competent running backs that the Bills will have to deal with. No snow, it is sunny.
Yeah, that also plays into as well. Brandon McManus, their kicker, is out for the Broncos.
Correct. So they have like a 30-year-old rookie.
31-year-old rookie. I think he played in the CFL.
Yeah.
So he's going to make his debut today.
And Tyler Bass, I predicted an 87-yard game-winning field goal today. If he's got the wind with him, he could be low 90s. So we'll see. True. Like 92 yards, something like that. They want to give it a shot.
Very reasonable.
All right, so we're going to have plenty of coverage. As you guys know, if you follow us, especially on Buffalo Plus and the Buffalo Plus YouTube page, we'll have all the news conferences on there. We will have our own post-game reaction to it. We'll have game stories, all of that on both BuffaloPlus.com and the Buffalo Plus YouTube page. Remember, the game's on NFL Network. We've got you covered. Follow us all on Twitter, too. Basically, our names put together. That's it, right? Mike Catalana, Jenna Cottrell, Dan Fetes. Just follow us. We will be pontificating. Well,
you will be pontificating.
And Dan.
Yes, true.
And Jenna sometimes.
Sometimes.
It's that streak.
He gets a little snarky.
Look out. Snarky. All right. Thanks for being with us pregame today. Enjoy the Bills game and check out Buffalo Plus when it's all done. Enjoy Buffalo Bills football. We'll see you guys again later.